morning, everybody. Allow me to thank Mr. Hisham Emran, the PRASA CEO and board member of Sara, for his brief introductory remarks. I was quarreling with him earlier and saying to him, I know I'm a fossil, you don't have to rub it in. The president of Sara, Mr. Nixon Dlamini, Honorable Atamaleng, Deputy Minister of Transport and Infrastructure from the Republic of Botswana, Honorable Sako, Deputy Minister of Transport and Infrastructure from the Republic of Zimbabwe, all ambassadors and representatives of foreign governments here with us today, His Excellency, Mr. Wamkile Nene, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Permanent Secretaries, Director Generals, Chief Executive Officers, all of our sponsors, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We meet today at a complex time for our individual domestic and continental economies. Recent global developments, including import tariffs, are disrupting long-standing trade and market access agreements. African economies are searching for new export markets on the continent and in the wider world. In this context, the African Continental Free Trade Area takes center stage and provides important economic opportunities for all of us. For generations, railways have been the arteries of the African trade and mobility, connecting mines to ports, farms to markets, and people to opportunities. Today, as Africa experiences unprecedented trade disruptions, population growth, and rapid urbanization, we stand at a defining moment. The choices we make now will determine whether rail becomes the driving force behind Africa's integration and prosperity. The African Integrated Railway Network, emerging from the 2023 Zanzibar Declaration, offers us a continental vision of seamless connections, strong manufacturing capabilities, and a united approach to infrastructure development. Already, we are witnessing important investments in upgrading and expanding rail networks across the continent. High-speed rail projects, urban commuter expansions, and freight corridor modernization have the potential to redefine how goods and people move, lowering costs, increasing competitiveness, and connecting landlocked countries to global markets. Across the continent, we have inspiring examples of strategic investments and policy reforms which illustrate what is possible. These include the Lobito Corridor in Angola, connecting Zambia and the DRC, the Nacala Corridor in Mozambique and Malawi, the Beitbridge Bulawayo Railway in Zimbabwe, and Tazara linking Tanzania and Zambia. This transformation is not just about building more tracks. It is about creating a modern, interconnected, and efficient African rail system that links our cities, countries, and regions, making borders gateways rather than barriers. However, investing in rail alone is not enough to achieve our objectives. Modern supply chains mean we must integrate rail with ports, roads, and inland logistic hubs. We must also harmonize regulations, standards, and procedures across borders so that goods can move easily within the free market area. Today, at this 14th edition of the Sara Rail Conference and Exhibition, we meet under the theme Transporting Africa Forward, accelerating rail growth to boost mobility and economic opportunity across Africa. I thought in that context I should share with you some aspects of the implementation of the national and reform program that is underway in South Africa, and our country's broad objective of making rail the backbone of the transportation of both people and goods. To this end, the National Rail Policy of South Africa establishes the principle that rail infrastructure will remain state-owned, while opportunities will exist for third-party access in rail operations. The policy emphasizes the importance of economic regulation to facilitate equitable access to the rail network and ensures that it is properly managed. Last week Friday, as Mr. Emmerich has said, I announced that 11 private sector operators have met the initial application criteria and have been allocated amongst them a total of 41 routes across 6 corridors for operating for a period of between 1 and 10 years. The Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager, or what we call TRIM, estimates that the new train operating companies will carry an additional 20 million tons of freight per annum by the end of the 2026-27 financial year. This will supplement Transnet Freight Rail's forecasted volumes and contribute to government's target of increasing freight moved by rail to 250 million tons by 2029. This is a significant step in our rail reform journey. It will contribute to a more efficient, reliable, and sustainable rail system that can promote inclusive growth and ensure both job retention and job creation. Our third-party access framework is anchored by the Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager, which was established in late 2024. Since our last conference, TRIM has published the first network statement together with the rail access tariff for the 2024-25 financial year. This milestone provides the industry with an opportunity to have complete information about the state of the entire rail network in the country. This includes information on network description, infrastructure information, operational rules, access, capacity, security, and maintenance issues. We are on course to publish the 4th network statement for 26-27, including the rail access tariff later this year. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is no secret that Transnet's current rail infrastructure is cause for concern for freight operators and cargo owners alike. The state has limited availability of resources for major refurbishment. This makes private sector investment critical. Earlier this year, we concluded a request for information process. Transnet will issue requests for proposals later this year and begin the formal procurement process, which will bring substantial private sector investment into rail infrastructure upgrades, probably through a concessioning model. It is important to emphasize once again that this process will take place in the context of the network as a whole remaining in state ownership. To sustain our economy, we cannot afford to wait until the private sector participation reaches financial close before launching a program to rehabilitate some of Transnet's network. Immediate sources of finance for this work include Transnet's current infrastructure budgets, 2 applications that we are putting into National Treasury's budget facility for infrastructure that amount to over 30 billion rand, and joint funding and collaboration which could allow current customers to assist in repairing the network without adding to Transnet's debt burden. In South Africa, reforms such as the separation of infrastructure and operations at Transnet, the strengthening of the railway safety regulator, and the expansion of passenger rail through PRASA's revitalized services are setting important examples which we hope can be useful to other networks on our continent. The White Paper on National Rail Policy 2022 centralizes strategic rail planning at a national level and directs the development of a national rail master plan. The plan will be a comprehensive evidence-based framework to guide the transformation of our rail network over the next 30 years. And we hope that this plan will be completed by the end of this current financial year. When implemented, our master plan will complement the SADC Regional Rail Master Plan. And going forward, we can use both plans to work together as a region so that we can assess the state of our current railways, build comprehensive data to make projects financially and technically bankable, and hopefully attract the kind of investment that will allow rail to be the backbone for the transportation of people and goods in the SADC region as a whole. It is our view that such a structured approach could serve as a blueprint for continental cooperation, inspiring similar frameworks in other African regions. Our footprint in international rail development was anchored when South Africa became the 6th state and the 2nd African state after Gabon to ratify the Luxembourg Rail Protocol. The ratification of the protocol is an essential part of the rail open access strategy of government. South Africa's ratification of the protocol supports the development of international financing in the railway sector and is an important step in facilitating financing for the rail industry, which is a key element for social development and economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, you have already heard today from Mr. Emeren about the important work that the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa is doing to restore routes, introducing modern train sets and improving safety, proving that passenger rail can be affordable, reliable, and a dignified option for transport for millions. And in this regard, I do want to congratulate PRASA for having successfully revived 35 out of 40 corridors, and at the end of the last financial year managing a total of 77 million passenger journeys. Yes, I think give them a round of applause. They deserve it. They've worked really hard. In September, we will launch the request for information for passenger rail, which will initiate the process of determining the appetite for investment in commuter rail. By recovering our passenger rail capacity, we aim to reach the milestone of 600 million annual passenger journeys on the PRASA network within 5 years. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we expand, we must ensure that our railways are green, climate resilient, and sustainable. Electrification, hybrid locomotives, and circular economy practices will help us ensure that we meet our climate goals and we protect our network from the extreme weather events that are already wreaking havoc with parts of our network. At the same time, we must invest in our people, training engineers and logistics practitioners, technicians, managers, and innovators who will design and operate the railways of the future. This must be about building African skills for African rail solutions. Colleagues, the theme of this conference is more than an aspiration. It is a commitment. We have the tools, the technology, the policy frameworks, and above all, the people to make this happen. Let us move from discussion to delivery, from vision to action. Together we can build an African railway network that powers our economies, connects our people, and secures a better future for generations to come. The Africa we want is within reach. We will get there together because, as so many others before me have said this morning, together we are much, much better. I thank you.